I'm Terrence James. You're watching another episode of Neutral Reviews, where we do real reviews for real decisions. And today we are looking at the 2023 Honda Pilot Black Edition, and I have borrowed the keys for this vehicle from Honda Canada. Now, this rugged and attractive looking 4th generation Honda Pilot is new from the ground up and now competes with the likes of the Subaru Wilderness Edition, which is known for its off tarmac capabilities. But with all these extra looks and capabilities, they are welcomed, but not at the price of losing what we already have, which is a reliable, roomy, comfortable, practical, and great driving vehicle. So let's take a look at the facts, feels, and final thoughts of the 2023 Honda Pilot. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, well, first impressions when I picked this up, it was big, but I was expecting it to be big, but it was really big physically. But one of the other things I noticed too is I actually like the look of it, because I personally have not been a fan of the Honda Pilot in the past when it was its plump minivan self. But I do like this. I really do think it looks like a rugged a rugged SUV. I do quite like the look of it. But one of the other things I noticed too was that it felt like a minivan in its practicality. The minute you open the doors and just look at the doors, you see all the different levels of spaces that you can put things and shelves. It really it's quite something. And the other thing too, because it was a bigger vehicle, once I actually started driving it, my first impressions was that it did seem like a minivan in the sense of it drove like a car, very easy to get along with. Drove a lot smaller than it actually is. Now, when we look at that, when we talk about price, as you can see on the screen there, there's quite a range in between the base and something more fully loaded like this. But nowadays, that's the kind of price that you're looking at. But you're also, with that being so, you're getting a lot for your money. Even if you do get the base model, one of the things that I like with Honda is that they do give you all this safety suite for free, and it does work pretty well. But something like this here, you're going to get all kinds of options. Like, you got this beautiful panoramic sunroof, you've got the full navigation on your screen, you got the full digital gauge cluster here. What else? You've got your wireless charging, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. I mean, you name it, you got it in here for the most part. So it is pretty well done for the price. Now, when we talk about that, well, what's the competition? Well, when you're looking at this, it's a sea of SUVs, and this is a popular size. And again, this should be a popular size because this is where you're actually getting some usable space. And when we talk about that, you're looking at things like the Ford Explorer. You're looking at things like the Kia Telluride. Now, one of the things that you're going to get with the Honda here, above and beyond just a great riding vehicle, like we said, is that Honda reliability and efficiency. Yes, this isn't the most efficient of engines, but it's mainly because of the big blocky size of the vehicle. The engine itself isn't too bad, and considering the size of this thing, it does work pretty good. So that Kia Telluride is a nice looking vehicle, and it's going to be great in a straight line for floating along and being very comfortable. But this vehicle here is really going to dynamically hold its weight a lot better. It's going to be a lot more like a German or European, much more expensive vehicle in that. Of course, there's still some movement and things like that, but all in all, for something that floats along, it does work pretty good. Now, with that said, let's pull over and talk about some performance facts and do some of our performance test feels. Okay, now that we've pulled over, let's give you some performance facts before we give you the performance feels test. So, Honda uses their newer style 3.5 liter dual overhead cam, 24 valve, naturally aspirated V6 engine with direct injection, which produces 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, which is capable of rocketing this 4,700-pound bloated minivan from 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds, which isn't bad. You're looking at about an 18.5-gallon tank. You're looking at about 15 miles per gallon when you're driving in town, in probably, high teens, around something like that on the highway, so not the best. But yes, and we're stopping in this test, so you can see there from 70 to 100, you're over 170 feet, which isn't too bad for something like this. 2 pistons in the front, 1 piston in the back, 13.8-inch vented disc up front, and solid in the rear. So here we go. All right. Okay, so do our traffic light Grand Prix acceleration test. We got it in sport already, and here we go. Okay, hold on, everybody. Oh, not bad. Okay, so as we are pulling around here, as you can see, it handles really, really well. The acceleration is really smooth on this. It's an easy pedal to modulate. You do have all kinds of passing power or to get you off the line if you need it for towing, but in all seriousness, it is a very nice vehicle to drive. Very peppy but smooth. And braking, it's a little spongy and it is a little slow to brake, but again, it's a very large vehicle and does not feel dangerous at all. I'm just spoiled and get to drive a lot of cars with Brembo brakes. So let's go to our next test. Okay, so before we do our handling test, let's go over some handling facts. Well, we've got a steer, so it steers using electronic steering nowadays. They're EPS unit, but it does work pretty good. And it steers these 255/50 R20 tires. And what else? Suspension, it uses McPherson strut up front and your classic multi-link in the rear, your classic SUV setup. Platform, it uses the same minivan platform as the Odyssey and their MDX for Acura, but adjusted with all the suspension for this vehicle here. And it's a very rigid unibody platform, but it is heavy duty, so it should handle pretty well. All right, so here we go. Let's just be extra sporty. We're going to put it in sport just for fun. Ooh, and it goes red, so it must be fast. Okay, so here we go. We'll put it in drive, and we'll see how it handles. Here we go. Oh! That V6 works pretty good. All right, so we do have a little bit of body movement, but as you can see, it holds really, really well considering. You can feel that flop over when you go transition from one side to the other, but it grips well. There's no movement here in the tires. We're not slipping around. Yeah, works pretty good. Pass. Okay, next, before we do our parking test, let's do our quick turnaround test, because often with a vehicle like this, you are going to need to turn around in a hurry, and let's see if we can do it without doing like a 17-point turn. So here we go. All right, we're going to go and return. Oh, look at this. I cannot believe how sharp this thing turns. That's incredible. Pass. Okay, let's do our parking test. Now, I'm going to give it a fail to start because I wanted to do a front parking test because something this big is not easy to park and it has a front camera, but I can't figure out how to get that camera on very easily. So I'm going to fail it for that, but you still got to back in sometimes. So let's back in and see how this thing parks. All right, so here we go. We're going to put it in reverse with our little fancy button here. You do have a few different camera modes, and we do have a 360 type thing over here, as you can see. Now, we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way because it doesn't have automatic parking like some of the vehicles we've been testing. So here we go. We're gonna have to rely on our driving skills. Okay, here we go. Checking the mirrors, and we're going back into our spot. Oh, this brings me back memories of how many times I failed. Oh, we like those backup cameras. Okay, this is a terrible backing up job. I've run into a few people's cars, but I'm finally in my spot and semi-straight, and pass. Okay, next is our highway and handling test, because really that's what you're going to be using this vehicle a lot for, is moving around town, getting people and the kids around, but also going on the highway probably. So here we go. And as we always say, going a little faster you probably would on an on-ramp here, but just to give you an idea, we did do the handling test. But again, just to show you on day-to-day stuff, it does hold the road really, really well. Going around this corner, I have lots of confidence, especially with this all-wheel drive. Nice, fairly wide tires, things like that. It holds really, really well for a big, heavy vehicle. So here we go. But what kind of power do we got to get on the highway? Oh, here we go. I tell you, that V6 works really, really good. That is smooth, lots of power. You know, as they say on the straight pipes, it's dad fast. It does. It works really well. But now that we're cruising along here at highway speeds, what about quietness? There's no kids in here, so just a stuffed moose. So yeah, it's real quiet. But even without that, it is a very quiet vehicle. They've done a really good job at keeping that cabin noise down in here. It is buttery smooth. It really, really is. I cannot get over how buttery smooth it is. And with these safety features that you have here, it's really convenient on the highway. So you hit this button here, and it will give you lane keep. I call it bumpers. Basically, you have green lines here, and it will essentially allow you to take your hands off the steering wheel for a few seconds in case you got to grab something or something else, and keep you between the lines. Now that's really nice. You can add one layer to that by hitting this button here with the little picture of the speedometer in the car. And what that's going to do is basically give you a laser guided cruise control. So we'll set the speed here at highway speed. And again, in theory, you could let your hands off the steering wheel. It's going to go around the corners for you and keep you nice and straight. But again, it is not an automatic driving system at all. And you shouldn't be taking your hands off the steering wheel. Really, it is just there if you need it in a jam. And really what it's meant for is to help you relax on long trips. I did try it out coming back from Toronto, and it is nice. You know, you can relax your feet a little bit. You can kind of take your hands off and stretch for a second, but you do need to be careful because the system is sensor based and it does get a little confused at times. So you definitely do need to pay attention, but it is excellent. And one of the things that I like as well is when all of this is shut off, as you can see here, even when it's shut off, if you try to venture over to the line here, it also will tell you when you go too far over in case you kind of, you know, snooze or something. Those are the bumpers I'm talking about, because it'll kind of bump you back in the lane instead of keeping you straight. So all in all, it's a really nice, safe, comfortable, quiet vehicle. And with this Bose sound system in this here, which works really, really well, it is a great place to be. Pass. Okay, now that we're back and pulled over, let's take a better look at the back of this thing. But before we do that, I see two real exhausts here. So let's turn on the old Neutral Reviews comment cam and take a look. 1, 2, oh dear. I hope they sound better than they look. Let's go. Pass fail, at least they're real and it's not electric. Okay, also, what we want to do when we come to the back of this thing is it can tow. Honda actually recommends attaching 3,500 pounds to the back of your Honda Pilot, which is the equivalent to one of these active urban lifestyles hanging off the back of your Pilot. All right, now in all seriousness, let's give this thing a whirl and see how it is in real life situations. So let me get my Moose Baby and all my Moose Baby stuff. Because I live in Canada, I also have a hockey stick, because you just never know when a game of road hockey is going to break out in Canada, and you always want to be prepared. So here we go. Sorry, Moose Baby. Oh. Okay, hands are full. Oh, hands are full. Oh, it's not irritating. Oh, Honda, you did it to me again. I really thought that was going to fail. Pass. All right, again. Don't recommend putting your baby up there, but it's a Moose Baby, and my hands are full. So, as you can see, voila, your hockey stick fits in there. Actually, what you would need to do is put down your seats once you get in all your baby stuff, in all seriousness. And with this here, it doesn't get overly fancy at this price point. You do have to put these third row down yourself, but it's really easy. Just grab these handles as you see. And then, yeah, you have lots and lots of space. We'll move the Moose Baby, and as you can see, with that third row down, there is plenty of space back here. Now, one of the other things that is nice back here, because a lot of people aren't going to use that third row, so this would really be their storage back here. Now, what you can do is you can lift this up. There is no full spare right there. I don't know if there's a spare underneath. Let's see. Ah, nice. So, this here is just meant for fun and snacks. Actually, it says spare tire there if I'd read properly. You've got more storage on the sides, on over here, and I'm super nosy. What is this over here? Unlock. Oh, double lock. Oh, well, that's where your jack and tools and stuff are. Yeah, but as you can see, all in all, just a normal spot back here. You do have your 12-volt plug-in, and you do have a button here to push. And this will go down if I'm not in the way. And one of the other things is too, because this actually is a high vehicle, you have this button here so you can set this. So if you're short like me, you can set it at a spot that you can actually reach, and you don't have to use the next slam dunk contest to get it down. So let's move to the back. We're actually going to put some people and see how it is back there. All right, getting in the back of our 2023 Honda Pilot. And as you can see, this door opens up almost 90 degrees, so you got lots of space to get things in and out, like your stuffed Moose Babies. Stuffed Moose Baby, you ready to go for a car ride? Here we go. All right. Oh, you are getting heavy. What are they feeding you? All right, and voila. As you can see, you can fit your stuffed baby very easily back here. But what about you if you get stuffed in those back seats? The third row, because this has a third row. Easiest way to get back here is probably this button here. Slides right forward. Ooh, that's nice. Look at that. Get in and out really easy. Oh, It's not too bad back here. Now you can't really see me because this here is an option. You have your 1-1-1 seating. So instead of having a complete bench back here, it is split. You have a captain's chair, this little thing in the middle, which you probably wouldn't want to sit on. We'll try it in a second, but basically for cup holders, and your other captain's chair. So we'll fold this down so you can see me, my face for radio back here. So as you can see, I'm 5'7", 150 pounds, so the size of a Smurf, but there is a lot of space back here if you do get stuck for 2 adults, and there's some elbow room as well. But can you breathe? Well, yeah, you got some vents back here. You're gonna get hydrated. Yep, round one and a round one, whatever shape that is in that one. And USB back here so you can plug in all your stuff, and you got some light. Yeah, and a window to see out. So really, not too bad for a third row. But what about these captain's chairs? Let's give them a try. All right, so as you can see, gotta be a little spry, but not too bad at all. And they slide back nicely, and we'll pop back in. Oh, it's a nice height to get in and out. It really is. Now, I have this in the recline setting. Oh, so this is nice if you gotta take a little recline nappy with your moose baby that's snoring away over there. But what you can do is you can pull this with that same button. Oh, there you go, in the upright position. A lot more alert for taking care of my moose baby. And what else? Yeah, it is very comfortable back here for long trips, things like that. And there is also, like a minivan, you do have adjustability back here, which is nice for legroom, which really comes in handy, especially if you have adults back here. And as we said with this one here, you do have this middle thing, which is even more space to put, and 2 more cup holders. And when we come back here, well, not only do they want you to breathe, you got 2 vents, they actually let you pick the temperatures yourself. Ooh, look at that. And you have heated seats on the outsides, which is nice, 3 temperature. Yeah, and you do have a full plug back here, which is really cool, and 2 more USBs. I had a vehicle with a full plug in it once, which was pretty neat. And of course, you have your map pockets on both sides. But one of the other tests we want to do, normally we do our can I put my window down and be cool in my SUV. But this one being the third row, we're going to go even one step further than that. We're going to shut this door. And what you can do, especially when you're a big YouTube star, which I'm not, you could actually put the peasant blockers up, or protect your baby from the sun, either or. Let's move up front, see how it is up there, because you're probably the one driving. Okay, getting in the front of the 2023 Honda Pilot Black Edition. Where to start? Well, we always like to start with the steering wheel, because I like steering wheels. And this one is a nice one. It is very similar out of the other ones that we've reviewed, out of the Civic and the CR-V. So it's a very sporty steering wheel, not too big, not too small. I really like it. One of the other things I like as well, we've kept hard buttons on here, which is nice, and they work well. So basically you got your safety stuff on the right side for the most part, and your volume and track forward, back, and some simple scrolling on your screen over here. Now before we get to that screen that we're staring us through the face through the steering wheel here, it is telescopic and tilting. Ooh, that's nice. However, it's not power, and not that that's a big deal. However, we do have memory on this, 2 editions, or 2 settings I should say. So for the most part, it's going to do your seat, because these seats we'll talk about in a second have power adjustment. But a lot of cars, if you have the power adjusting seats, it's also nice to have the memory power adjusting steering wheel to match up when everybody moves seats. But anyway, and you do have paddles on here. I don't know why, it's not a fast vehicle, but you know, anyway, they're there. When they feel not too bad, which is surprising. You know, it'd be nice to have nice feeling paddles in a sporty vehicle. Also, you have the switch gear in here as Honda. It all works well and feels pretty nice to the touch, especially when we come over here to our heating and ventilation with our buttons. I like it. Yeah, they feel pretty nice. They sound nice. So you can actually work the rear as well with your rear settings down here. So you can actually lock them out too, those people back there. So if you don't want them monkeying around with it, you can do that. And of course you can sync them all up together. You do have heated and cooled seats on here. Now I gotta be honest with you, the cooled seats anyway don't work the best, but it's nice to have nonetheless. Yeah, what else when we come down here? Wireless charging, and the Hondas actually work, as you can see from the B-roll. It is impressive, and because this is giant, you actually have another spot over there that you can put a second phone. Wouldn't be wireless, but you could just put it if you wanted to, or other things. You know, you got spots for your wallet, you got plugs in here, got 12-volt and USB, all kinds of stuff. And when we come over here, there's more hard buttons, but they've taken away our shifter, and we've got all kinds of buttons here to go, stop, go backwards. And we have electronic parking brake. Boo. But it does come with some nice features in a vehicle like this. So what I mean by that is you do have hill hold, which is a nice feature, especially if you're off-roading or if you're towing something and you're going down a hill a little bit. Use some engine braking. And again, you've got the braking hold over here as well, so you don't roll back, which is nice. And you got your drive mode button, which is going to lead us to that screen. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, we mentioned it before, so let's change those drive modes and look at all the drive modes you have on this one. So you've got normal. I personally have been using Eco because it's a giant vehicle and Honda makes me spend money on my own gas. And it's not the best, as you can see from the screen. It's actually not the worst, all things considering. Considering that it's a V6 with this heavy of a vehicle at 4,700 pounds and it can tow 3,500, actually, to get that type of fuel economy is not that bad considering some of the V8s out there in the competition and whatnot. But nonetheless, I do like the Eco. And when we come back here, what else we got? Well, we got snow, because where I live, there's often snow. So that's nice. They've adjusted the four-wheel drive for that, and that also goes for your trail as well. You can also have sand mode and tow mode. So really, you have all different kinds of modes here, which is nice. One of the things that I do like with Honda, even though it's not the nicest screen, you know, it probably wasn't even the nicest screen 10 years ago. But what's on the screen, the content itself is really good. Some of the best out there, I personally think anyway. It's really easy to use, kind of looks like an old Windows phone. You can hold these tiles and move them around like you would on your phone, but we won't want to get into the weeds there. What we want to say though is, I really like down here, it is electronic, digital, touch, whatever you want to call it, but these down here, navigation, phone, things like that, you do have a row of things that you can keep down there, which is really handy. So if you're not in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which are wireless by the way on this edition, then those are always at the bottom. Otherwise, as you can see from the B-roll there, Apple CarPlay is full screen, and it does work pretty good. There's not a lot of like in my Subaru, unfortunately, it just comes on, comes off. This seems to be pretty stable. It works really, really well. We won't get into a lot of this other than to say that you do have navigation here on this model, which is really nice. Again, if you do have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you just plug in your own phone. But if you don't have those, or if you don't feel like using it, then yeah, this has navigation built in. I've used it. It does work pretty well. What else to talk about here are these seats, because if you do want to go on a nice long trip like I did, because Toronto from London is quite a far ways away, these seats. And as we have titled this, it is like driving a Chesterfield, your favorite Chesterfield, and that's meant to be a compliment, not an insult, because we're driving a giant minivan that's meant to be comfortable, and these seats are comfortable. So I was on a couple-hour drive. They're great. There's a fair amount of adjustment. There's lumbar, as we said, they're heated, cooled, things like that. They're leather perforated, but they're more squishy. You know, there's a little bit of bolstering, but you're not going fast in here, and does hold its body weight pretty well. It's pretty much just meant to be comfortable. Let's take this for one more drive and lead us to our final thoughts. We'll do our rants and raves. Here we go. Okay, now that we're back on the road, let's do our final rants and raves as we lead to our final thoughts. And as we're going to do that, we're going to go over some train tracks here. Let's just see how it feels. Rattle your teeth. Ooh, that was really smooth. That was buttery smooth. And that's one of the things that we want to rave about, is that this vehicle really floats along like my dad's old Cadillac. But unlike my dad's old Cadillac, this thing actually, as we saw, does go around a corner pretty well, even at some decent speeds here. That's not bad at all. Like, this thing really, really does handle well. And with the other things, as we saw too, you know, when you're handling, like, look at this, look how light this is, the steering. It's very, very easy to get along with. We saw that it's easy to turn around, things like that. I just can't believe how well this thing drives for such a large vehicle. Now, what to rant about? Well, I don't know, it's the fuel economy. And again, I'm not complaining, because Honda's done a very good job. They put a 6-cylinder in here, kept it naturally aspirated, did all kinds of things to try to make the efficiency as good as possible in this. And it's really a compliance engine with all the different regulations and things like that. So, yeah, it's just, you're going to get that with any vehicle like this. You're just going to pay at the pump, unfortunately. So that is a rant. And one of the other raves was something that the Pilot was always good at, which was just tons of space. And not only just space, but you got usable space. Like, different shapes they've thought it through. They know what people are going to put in this thing, and it just works. Which leads me to my final thoughts. Now, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and check out one of our other Honda SUV reviews so we can get more cool cars like this one in our upcoming review. Now, we started off this review by looking to put the facts against the feels for the all-new 2023 Honda Pilot Black Edition. And here are the facts and feels that we used to come up with this final thought. Which is, with that new V6 that you can see and all that extra power, your smooth shifting 10-speed automatic transmission, the capability of that all-wheel drive system, you've got your 4-wheel independent suspension, 4-wheel disc brakes, and this new platform, it really does drive still like a minivan. But for those of us that aren't ready for a minivan but need that extra space and want something a little bit more rugged, you have that now, as you can see in the facts. And when you drive this, it really does feel like that, the blend in between the nice driving, easy to get along with minivan, but with that road presence and capable, rugged feeling of a true SUV. And that's what you have here. So as always, we will leave you with the final thought. Please leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.